Hi friends, Andrew Goodall here with another look at my new purchase, the Panasonic Lumix G9 with the Leica Panasonic 100-400mm lens. In this quick video, I want to address one of the concerns that popped up repeatedly in my research when I was deciding which camera to buy, and to give you my take on it. Before we start, I'll invite you to subscribe to the channel. I have loads of new content on the way about the G9, and subscribing is the best way to keep in touch. So the question I want to look at is a general one directed at the entire Micro Four Thirds range, and it relates to depth of field, and in particular that big buzzword of modern photography, bokeh or however you pronounce it. It's in the nature of the Micro Four Thirds cameras that they lend themselves to stronger depth of field, and that makes it harder to get that very soft background bokeh look that you can get often with a long lens, a wide aperture and a close subject. It's often seen in portraits and wildlife photography. Now, there's no question that this is a popular effect, and there's also no question that the Micro Four Thirds system favours stronger depth of field and more detailed backgrounds. So I want to address why I considered all of that and I decided to buy one anyway. The way I see it, shallow depth of field is not the be-all and end-all of photography. In fact, shallow depth of field can be the reason why some photos end up being deleted because they simply weren't quite right. How often have you focused on the eye of a close-up subject and realised later on that the eye was actually the only thing in focus? How many times do we shoot a portrait, we get that nice bokeh effect, but realise it would have been nice to have just a little bit more sharpness on the subject? How often are we disappointed when we shoot two subjects at once and discover that despite our best efforts with the aperture, when you blow the photo up you realise that only one of them is really in focus? And finally, here's one that really is for the bird photographers. How often do we shoot a larger bird in flight, a situation where we can't really be too picky about the focus point, and find that the focus caught the wing closer to the camera and not the eye? So, as much as we all like a bit of bokeh, shallow depth of field can cause a few problems of its own. So here's how I look at it. For every shot where I might wish I had a slightly softer background, there'll be just as many where I will be happy to know that my whole photo, is sharp everywhere I need it to be. Finally, don't forget that depth of field is not just a product of the sensor or the size of the aperture. The size of your lens and how close you are to the subject are big factors as well. The larger the lens you use, the smaller the depth of field becomes. The closer you are to the subject, the smaller the depth of field becomes. So if you know your camera and you know your lenses and you understand your basic theory, you shouldn't have too much problem getting the shot you want. And when it comes to portraits, if my backgrounds do become more visible in my shots, that just means I need to be a bit more choosy about where I put my models to be sure the background enhances the image. So those are my thoughts on the question of bokeh with Micro Four Thirds and the Panasonic G9. If you want to see how I go proving my point, please subscribe to the channel to see what images I can post in the future. I'm Andrew Goodall from Nature's Image Photography. Thanks for watching.